Tonight, hundreds of search crews are working to bring 2-year-old Dane Paulson home. He vanished 3 days ago from his family's home just north of Siletz. That is in Lincoln County. I'm Anthony Kustura, one of the anchors here at KOIN TV. It's a story that we've been following for the past several days when that 2-year-old vanished outside of his parents' home back on Saturday afternoon. Since then, it has prompted a massive search effort from hundreds of local law enforcement officials, now involving the FBI, and many family members as well as neighbors and community members all coming together to find this little 2-year-old boy, Dane Paulson. This is a look at some of the conditions that folks are working with there in Lincoln County. That's a photo of the little 2-year-old Dane Paulson right there. You can see that there's a river that we're showing you right now, and that's because this has become a major area of concern. As I mentioned, this little boy vanished around 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. His family's property backs up to this river there in Lincoln County, and so that's why there's been this huge emphasis on dive teams, as you see in this video. We've also seen divers and drones as well as dogs all searching and combing through now hundreds of acres, I think totaling at last check more than 300 miles, and then more than 600 acres that those hundreds of volunteers have been scouring through. Again, this is a story that we have stayed on top of for several days. We're going to share a report that we filed a little bit earlier this afternoon from our reporter Ariel Sulk, who's been staying on top of this story. We're going to show you that now.
KOIN 6 News breaking news alert.
That breaking news now at 5. We are going into the third day of the search efforts for a missing toddler in Lincoln County. Police and county residents, volunteers even stepping up to help search for this boy who disappeared from outside his Siletz home back on Saturday. The search for the missing 2-year-old stretching into a third day in Lincoln County.
Yeah, Dane Paulson vanishing from his home north of Siletz late Saturday afternoon. Ariel Sulk is talking with volunteers. She has the latest.
Hundreds of volunteers are out here on this day 3 of this search. I'm hearing even people from outside the state are here to help.
This is every family's tragedy.
A heavy presence in the river today, including boats, drivers, and drones in the air.
I fish this river all the time. I have a drift boat and I drift it. And I'd say right now it's medium to where, 3 days ago the river was quite a bit higher and it was running a lot faster.
One of the volunteers helping the search for the past 2 days lives in Salem. She called out sick from work just to keep searching.
This is horrible. I hope he's found. So I came out here because if a mom calls for help, I want to come. So, yeah. So that's why I'm here.
She's not alone.
We've had people from Castle Rock, Washington, Boise, Idaho.
This is an incredibly emotional time for this little community. Last night they held each other, sobbed, and prayed after a long day of searching for Dane Paulson.
On our knees, Father, we're crying out to you. We are asking you to hear our prayers. Hear those that are here, Father. Hear the prayers in the middle of the night. Hear the prayers throughout the day. Father, we need a miracle. We need this baby to be found.
Lincoln County Sheriff's Office combed the area with help from other agencies, including the FBI. Volunteers filling in the gaps.
We've got our own smaller maps that we're using compared to what the SO has. But
according to the Sheriff's Office, Dane was playing in the yard of his home that backs up to a river, out of sight of his parents, around 4 p.m. yesterday when he disappeared. He was last seen wearing a gray fuzzy hoodie with teddy bear ears, black pants, and white shoes. As the search continues, community members want the family to know they are here for them.
I hope he's found so that there's closure. I hope he's found. And all of us are with you.
Initially, detectives say they were looking for a gold vehicle that may have been involved. They tell us that's no longer a lead. Ariel Sulk, back to you.
So again, that was a report that we filed a little bit earlier this afternoon from our Ariel Sulk, who again has been following this story very closely since it first broke on Saturday afternoon. We've been showing you those images of the nearby river from that little boy's family's property, and that is because the big concern here is that little 2-year-old Dane Paulson can't swim. And so the concern is that maybe he ventured off and somehow got into the water. And so that's why there has been such this huge emphasis from those divers, from the boats, the drones from overhead, trying to figure out if they can get any sort of trace of that little 2-year-old boy. So many of you have been asking about Amber Alerts and why that has not been issued yet. And that is for a very specific reason. So the sheriff's office tells us there in Lincoln County that for this particular case, it doesn't qualify for an Amber Alert, and that is because they don't believe it's an abduction. There were some earlier reports that there was a suspicious vehicle that may have been involved in this case, but so far at this point, investigators have actually ruled that out. And so because Dane's disappearance at this point doesn't meet that criteria of an Amber Alert, they have not issued that. So that's why so many of us haven't seen those push alerts out on our phone. It's really become this grassroots community-led effort for neighbors and volunteers, as well as several law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, trying to find that little boy. What I can tell you now at this point is because we are well into the evening hours, the search for today has concluded. It wrapped just a short time ago. This is a live look here at Lincoln City. You can see it's quite dark, so trying to find a little toddler in these conditions would prove to be very difficult, although those officials are using a lot of different resources, including the search dogs and flashlights, but at this point they are deeming it too unsafe, and so they've stopped the search efforts for tonight. We are told they are expecting to resume those early tomorrow morning. Also of note to tell you about tonight, the sheriff's office had initially planned for a news briefing later this evening about 5:30. The sheriff's office canceled that. They had rescheduled it for first thing tomorrow morning. They have also canceled that as well, saying that they really have no new information to share in this case. And so again, they're relying on those new leads. They're relying on people who live and work in that area to report anything that you may have seen as it relates to this little boy. There's his photo right there. Just 2-year-old Dane Paulson. Now, what he was wearing when he was last seen does not match that photo, so I do want to share that because, again, this is coming from the sheriff's office. We're told that he was wearing a gray fuzzy hoodie with teddy bear ears, black pants, and white shoes. Again, he was wearing a gray fuzzy hoodie with teddy bear ears on it. He was wearing black pants and white shoes. So the description of what he was wearing when he was last seen does not match that photo, but that should hopefully give you an indication of who those investigators are now looking for. Such a terrible, tragic situation. It really is every parent's worst nightmare, especially when we're talking about a large body of water, especially with some of the conditions that we've seen in the last several days. But again, we know hundreds of volunteers from all over the state, even out of state. Today we heard from some folks who are working on the ground there. The folks were coming from Washington State and even Idaho. I'm trying to assist in the search for that little 2-year-old boy. It is a story that so many people are hoping for closure. A lot of people hoping for the best possible outcome, which is to have Dane come home safe and sound. It's certainly a story I know you're all interested in, and it's a story that we're staying on top of. So we are working on getting some new elements for you tonight. The latest developments we're going to have at 10 p.m. over on Portland CW, and then again at 11 o'clock on KOIN. We're going to have the latest updates for you too right here on KOIN.com. Any new information that comes in throughout the evening will be sure to share with you online. But again, the investigators really relying on those new tips, relying on folks to come forward if they've seen anything at all that could potentially help bring that 2-year-old boy home. That's going to do it for here on KOIN.com. We'll see you tonight at 10 and 11.